thank you so much for joining me for this interview today.
Hi, how are you today?
Very good. So what do you currently teach, and how many years have you been in this position?
Well, this past year I was actually a reading specialist and a fifth grade teacher for 15 years. And this past year they needed reading specialists for my school, so I was a reading specialist.
That's awesome. So you use Blackboard Collaborate in online lessons, correct?
Correct.
Do you think that it's effective in making all learners feel like they're in the same room, even though they're physically not in the same room? And why or why not?
I actually do. It gives a visual aspect that the kids really enjoy. You can give all students that visual look. You can also apply videos to the whiteboard. You can do something immediately with it. In the middle of a lesson, I can change a lesson, so it's great. So it's adaptive to the students and to their needs as well. So
cool.
That is excellent.
Do you use that breakout room feature a lot during lessons, and how do you use it, if you do?
I do. I use it quite a bit with my students. A lot of times I work in small groups with my students, being a reading specialist.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times if I'm taking the struggling students, and I notice that even though I have the struggling students, if I notice they're struggling, I might throw them down into a breakout and give them a little more remediation where they can practice even on their own.
That's great. So it's a tool to differentiate instruction and give them more practice.
Yes.
Do you ever find it challenging for young kids to learn how to use all the features that are in Blackboard Collaborate? Because I know there's a video feature, there are all those pens and application sharing, things like that.
I think you would be amazed. I think it depends on the attitude of the adult. If you go in and you say, they're never going to be able to do this, they can't.
Yes, that is so true. Are there any features of Blackboard Collaborate that you use like every day in lessons? And how do you use them? The breakout rooms I use every single day in my lessons. I would probably have to say I use web touring quite a bit. I like to use application sharing quite a bit. You can use, like the web touring, you can go to different sites and share different sites with students. Cool.
I like to take my students on field trips. So, they don't always get to go out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Very often they go on virtual field trips all the time.
They can be really fun and cool. I was reading that one feature of Blackboard Collaborate is that kids can like text each other during sessions, almost like instant message each other. Is that a tool that you use a lot, or does it become kind of a distraction? Do they engage in like side conversations all the time with it?
They can. It's a chat. There's a chat box in there, mm-hmm. and that can be turned off. So you can turn it off as soon as most teachers that I work with just have it turned off completely. Because whenever they chat, the whole entire class can see it. Mm-hmm. So if you have 30 students in class, it's very hard for them to chat with only one other student, because if all 30 of them are chatting in the chat box, it's hard for them to keep track of the stream. If there's private chat, they can send it to just another student. The teacher can always see it. And I've seen some really, really unique chats with, especially with fifth graders, even with the second graders sometimes. And then certain Fridays out of the month, they will have social time that they can come in. I set up different breakout rooms, and they can kind of chat with one another, hang out with one another, do different things and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Now, I know that kids can join this session from anywhere. Like, they could be on their couch and, joining into the Blackboard Collaborate session. They could be at a desk. Do you think that's beneficial to them or more of a hindrance to them?
I honestly, I think that's great. Whatever makes you comfortable. Mm-hmm. If you're going to come and you're going to learn, if you learn laying down, if you learn standing up, if you learn standing on your head, if that's how you learn, I don't care.
I know that you can record sessions with Blackboard Collaborate and then the kids can like watch them later. Do you find that helpful? Do a lot of kids use the recorded sessions if they can't make it or they need to see the lesson again?
I think some do and some don't. I think it's more a lot of the asynchronous students watch a lot of the recordings. A lot of our advanced students watch a lot of the recordings more than any of the other students do.
How do you feel Blackboard Collaborate, do you feel it allows you to personalize and differentiate instruction more than a traditional classroom, about the same as a traditional classroom? What do you think about that?
I feel that there is good and there is bad. I love the technology part of it, and I love the advancement of it, and I really feel that I can change things sometimes immediately. Sometimes when I'm thinking of something, I can immediately search for something and bring it out and show it to the kids, and I can give them an example of it, and I don't have to draw something. So it's on that end. But then on the other end, sometimes it's just great to be able to just open the book and have the kids in front of you and just talk to them and get their ideas. Sometimes that's great to be able to have them be able to just write and do their own thing. So sometimes, having them be able to do it, because sometimes I feel that way. Like sometimes they don't want to show me their work because my work's already on the board. And even if I throw up a blank whiteboard, and I'm like, well, you show me, what do you think? Sometimes they don't want to do that. And I feel if they were in front of me, I could encourage them more to do that.
How do you get feedback from your instruction? Like after you do a Blackboard Collaborate lesson, how do you know that the kids understood it?
Every single lesson that I do, there is a short assessment. I have to have a short assessment with every single lesson that I do. The students are supposed to complete. Other lessons within their online school, so they are supposed to be completing that. And again, this specific year, I was a reading specialist. But in other years, I did have assessments and assignments and things such as that related back to my lessons. So,
do you ever experience like technological problems with the program? How often do you experience those?
Yes. There's either a ton of them or there's none of them. So last year I swear I had like a whole week off. There was a ton of them. Sometimes we seem to be the favorite of cyber attacks, whatever they are, and it's shut down for a while. And sometimes there's no problem at all. Because the issue is that we have to log into our K-12 to then get into the Blackboard. So if there's an issue with K-12, we can't turn around and log into our Blackboard.
Do you find kids more or less confident to ask you questions in a Blackboard Collaborate session as opposed to maybe being in front of all their peers in a physical setting and like raising their hands?
I think that they're more confident to ask questions in a Blackboard session. I do feel that they're more confident because no one can see them. But I do feel that face-to-face in a brick-and-mortar setting, I can usually see when someone is confused. So even if they don't want to ask that question, I can usually look at someone and tell that they need to ask that question. So even if they didn't have that confidence, I can usually tell.
Yeah.
But I can kind of tell in this class too. Because even though no one's asking questions, I'm asking questions.
Right.
So if I'm not getting answers all throughout the class, it's usually easy to tell when I'm not getting the answers.
And one last question here. Are there any other pros or cons of this Blackboard Collaborate program that you can think of that weren't mentioned?
I would just have to say, sometimes it's just setup time. Sometimes it's difficult. I've been doing this, like I said, for 10 years. So I have lessons upon lessons upon lessons upon lessons. So for me, I think this is the easiest thing in the world to do. So when people ask me about this, I'm like, oh yeah, this is easy. Cyber teacher, oh, this is the easiest thing. I think it's great. It's easy. But I talk to people that just start this, and I do feel bad for them because they're like, how do you do this? This is the most confusing thing in the world. So I do think that sometimes for teachers coming into this, it can be very, very confusing sometimes. It can be. And I don't feel the training for new teachers is good.
Thank you very much for your time. I really, really
no
appreciate
problem.
it. Have
Yeah,
a good
no problem
rest
at
of
all.
the day.